Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this VanillaIP webinar. We've still got a few people coming through the door as we speak, and so we will just kick off by welcoming you and just setting the scene for you. My name's Ian Sinnott. I'm the Sales and Marketing Director of VanillaIP. I'm joined today by my colleague, Ed Trussell, who's from our senior engineering team. Ed, do you want to just check in and say hi?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Awesome. And we're very much hoping to be joined by a colleague of ours as well from Cisco, who seems to be held up in whatever today's excuse for traffic is. But hopefully, Tan will be joining us by the time we get to that section. However, what we aim to do today is just introduce you to Webex, which has now been fully deployed as part of our unified communications services, sitting on top of our very well established BroadSoft proposition. And as part of that, we're going to talk a little bit about our relationship with Cisco, our supporting of the development and deployment of this product. But one of the areas that we hope to emphasize, and we have been talking with our current partners about, is this ability to generate profit from the collaboration space. Obviously, it's a very vogue environment at the present time. But it's important for us and for our partner community to keep an eye on the future profitability of the services that we do. Undoubtedly, we'll do the legwork to create the marketplace. So it's important that as we do that, we plan and protect our revenue streams going forward. So we'll bring a couple of points to bear on that as we go through. But for now, let's just kick off and do a recap, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of comments at the start of presentations. We are living through this very strange period of time, which has really created a change within the general business marketplace. And what we've learned during that period, and what our customers have learned during that period, is that productivity is possible, and in fact, productivity has sometimes gone up when workplace flexibility has been brought to bear. And the particular process that we went through forced an adoption and a long scale testing of some of the tools for meeting and collaboration. And this broke some of the sort of taboos or the questions that held people back in the past about workplace productivity, but also trust within the workplace itself, within the staff itself. So what we see in the future is a definite balance point, a new balance point between flexible working, office working, that sort of thing. And this then raises the question of what the channels make of this. What is it an advantage? Is it an opportunity? And I think the way we view it is that it simply brought forward the conversation by 2 years. It's brought information to the buyers who now sit with confidence and talk with confidence about these tools, which we've been perhaps promoting for a couple of years already. But we've seen a slow adoption or a slow interest growth from the customers themselves. And so it does really deliver this new opportunity for us, as long as we are mindful about the change needs of the customers and the long-term opportunity threats that we face as channel players. Who are the big influences? The big influences are Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and of course, Webex, which we're launching today. But where do we see them as friends, and where do we see them as potential threats to our revenue? And the big question, where do we continue to deliver relevance and value as channel players, which is why we sustain such a strong position in the marketplace. It is about product, but it's also about the delivery of that product, the management of that product, and the back office. So we'll look to cover all of those elements as we go through. So I'm delighted to say that Tan has battled through the traffic. Tan, I believe you're with us. I believe you're on mute at the moment.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Hey, Tan. How are you? Good to have you join us again for this. Tan,
thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We've got an audience here of industry players who currently don't enjoy the VanillaIP proposition, but we're very much hopeful that they'll reach out to us at the end of this. I wonder if you could just share with us a few insights into why this is an important move for Cisco, and how you see the product both in terms of functionality and security coming into play and being a strong place in the marketplace. And before I hand over to you, I will just say that in order to keep the COVID theme going, Tan and I will use the briefings, the number 10 briefings structure, and he will tell me to advance slides when he's ready. So Tan, over to you.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, and we can move ahead. So thank you everyone for their time. So Webex. So I guess there's been a lot of talk about Webex in the marketplace. Maybe confusing as to what that is. People have heard of Webex Teams. People have heard of Webex as in a meetings application. But as Cisco, we culminate Webex into a single story as an interface for a customer, for every customer that is delivering them what we believe is the comprehensive portfolio of collaboration access and applications, as well as features that they need all into a single app. So this has been the driver as we move from the space within Cisco, where as a result of BroadSoft acquisition, we had UC1 with the legacy Cisco HCS or CUCM platform. We've always had Jabber. And then, of course, a meetings experience or a meetings client, we move that all into a single app, previously referred to as Webex Teams, now referred to as the Webex app going forward, as a single app with all workloads to deliver the experience, whatever it is that the service the customer needs. So our business unit, our business puts a huge amount of emphasis on this as an application we believe will go forward and be an attraction for customers and allow them to gravitate to the calling platform of choice. In this case, with the Vanilla platform underneath, you now get the full Webex experience as well as the benefits of everything that Vanilla brings from a calling perspective. So we can move on. Yeah. Right. So not to create islands. So this is a tagline from a Cisco perspective, where we refer to building bridges, not islands. We understand the need to collaborate and play well with everyone else. So as what we see on the screen here is a bunch of names that we're all familiar with. So whether it's Google or Microsoft, whether it's Salesforce, or Smartsheet, is an ambition to play along and work with, so that customers not only have a full contained experience with Webex, but they continue to interact at some level, with Zendesk or Microsoft Teams and so on within the same application. So it's about integration here. It's about cooperation and collaboration with these, whether it be via a bot, whether it be via an SDK, or whether it be via some other embedded feature within the application, allowing customers to leverage the application and coexist with the rest of their estate. We can move on, Jan. And then a solution that supports all work styles. So we spoke about, just very briefly about this app being delivering different workloads. In terms of the Webex for BroadWorks offer, we have various packages within the Cisco portfolio, which have been, Vanilla have taken and delivered across their platform here. So starting with Webex 1000, this will be the high end, giving you 1,000 participant meeting capability for your sort of product manager, whether they're home working, whether they're a road warrior, sales team that needs to set up a large meeting, to host a large meeting. You've got all of the Webex controls, 5x5, scalable, features and dimension and so on, all within the application. And as you move down the stack, there's the worker that needs less of a requirement. So they have smaller, they're contained, they seldom do large meetings, but they do meetings nonetheless. And there's a Webex 25. Webex Spaces is really down to sort of that entry-level space where I need calling, but messaging is useful. And then, of course, lastly, softphone for those contact centers and that space where that workload does not need to take up my whole screen. I'm not going to use messaging, but I have the ease of upgrading, so I don't lose the capability. This is really just a couple of clicks away from being upgraded from softphone to a full-blown Webex 1000 in the case of VanillaIP. So we can move on. Okay, so as we move into security, as some of you may be familiar with, security is a really important part from Cisco. So everything that Cisco built is built from the ground up, focused on security first. And where does this move? Because as Chuck, our fearless leader and chairman, has said, this is a fundamental human right. And this absolutely needs to be protected at all costs, right? So privacy is an utmost importance there. So how do we deliver this? Okay, it's broken up into sections. So of course there's the data protection, a very important part of the portfolio, everything Cisco. Then there's how do we do this in terms of a development lifecycle, right? So there's slices of the pie here that we work through towards and develop, validate, launch, operate, monitor, and plan. And this is how we develop everything within the Cisco space. And then of course nothing is nothing is really secure unless independently reviewed. So we pride ourselves on focusing on that and laying a level of importance against that as well. You can move on, Ian. So here we just expand a little bit on our, how we deliver this and how we operate. So of course, baselining greater than 200 security requirements that we're focusing on, and that continues to be evaluated at all times. So that's where we start out in the plan develop phase, focusing on where do these no compromise, how do these fit in. Now, of course, there's the validation phase, which is validate and test, regular automated testing, threat modeling, and so on, which we exercise through there, through these different steps. Making sure and the education that our internal developers, the team that build these clever applications, are at least skilled and have the appropriate latest training from a security perspective. And then applying the internal Cato rule, which is a Cisco approval to operate. Everything has to pass a Cato approval from that perspective to make sure that it is good to go and that it meets the criteria from a launch perspective. Okay, we can move on, Ian. Independently auditing. So of course we subscribe and conform and have the certifications here that you would expect from a carrier level product operator. So it's 27001, then SOC 2 and SOC 3 compliance there. When it comes to regulatory, we play in a global space here. So there are multiple laws that govern how we deal with data, what we do with data, how we look after the data. So there's everything from GDPR to Swiss privacy, APAC, and so on that we adhere to and continue to evaluate and measure ourselves against. So, and significant investment goes into these because we understand this from an importance perspective. Move on, Ian. I think that's it.
I think that's you, Tom. But listen, thanks very much indeed for taking a run through. I think for our audience, what we all value is the fact that we are in a partnership, a multi-level partnership. So we have a lot of focus on making sure that communications goes up and down from Cisco through us into our partner channel, from our partners through us into the Cisco environment. And we make sure that we continue to grow and evolve the product set and the relationship strongly based on facts coming from the field. So I'm just going to introduce Ed Trussell now, who represents our development and product engineering team. Ed, I don't know if you want to pick up from where Tan left off. We've talked a bit about security, but clearly the back office for us is always an important part of what we do.
Yeah, thanks, Ian, and thanks, Tan. Yeah, just like to say thanks to Tan for joining us today. I think it highlights the strong relationship we've had with Cisco over the past 6 months and beyond of participating in what they call an early field trial with the Webex product. That's been a really great program for us to do to make sure that we were sort of right there with our foot in the front door to make sure that we were ready to go with Webex. We've certainly been trialing it and testing it over the last 6 months and working to build it into our UBOS platform. And again, that's actually a continual rolling platform for us to keep working with them to bring out new features, test new features before they go live. So there's only a handful of partners with Cisco across the world that are actually doing it at the moment, and we're proud to be part of that program. Next slide, please, Ian. And so we've really tried our best to aim for the simplification of deployment for any user of Webex on our platform. We found that last March, April hit for us, we were selling UC1 Trio as a product, which was sort of a precursor to the Webex app that we're selling now. A great little product, mainly soft phone, had some meeting capabilities. There was a bit of gap there between that and Webex, but it filled a need at the time. We've learned the lessons around that. It was reasonably easy to deploy, but there were ways we could have made that much better. And certainly what we've done with the Webex side of things is to really take advantage of the full API that was available to us. As we've said there, the Cisco RESTful API set. If you weren't doing that, it would be reasonably difficult to deploy. We've made it fairly straightforward, a few simple clicks, and you are good to go. And we'll display that for you guys shortly, so you can see exactly how easy that is to take. Device streamlining we've done there, which is to include share call appearance into our Webex package. For those of you that aren't aware of the BroadWorks world, share call appearance allows you to have, as it says, 6 devices per user. So what we have done there, we've included share call appearance. You assign Webex, and it's going to put those devices on for you as you go. This really does allow very easy consumption of these Webex services. We've done all of that work, so very easy for you to go as an end user if you want to do self-serve and just assign a single instance of Webex, or if you want to apply it across a whole base if you need to. So we've certainly got some bulk build tools there, and we've made some changes around that to make it really easy to 1 to 1,000 users, as easy as it can be. We've also now updated our welcome email. So it's context sensitive. So if you've assigned a Webex service, resend your welcome email to the user, or if it's a new user, send them one. It will provide all the details about logging in, where you can download your applications, what your password is, anything that you need to be able to access Webex, and make it easy again for the end users to jump straight on. And again, it's also linked to billing for the assignment and ceased of the service. So you instantly start getting billed, and it'll instantly be ceased at the time that you want to stop using the product. I'm sure you won't, but it's there if you need to. We've also made some changes to the way the device pages lay out, just to make it a little bit easier again. If you need to move any device around for your user, if you decide that you've taken Webex, but you've also got a desk phone when you maybe head back to the office, if that's something you're going to be doing, you can then maybe say, okay, well, Webex is going to be on my laptop. I maybe want that as a secondary device, and I maybe want my Polycom phone to be my primary device, or my Cisco device, so as my primary. So you can easily change those around now. And again, a lot of that work we have done is really to make it, like I say, easy to consume the service, easy for your users to consume the service, and hopefully we can highlight that as Ian is about to show you. Thank you, Ian.
Yes, fingers crossed, wind in the right direction, as they say. So look, hopefully you're getting the feeling that not only do we like to bring to marketplace useful products, applications, and services which can generate revenue and satisfy customer need, but we are mindful of a couple of other things. One is the experience of deploying services, the experience that the customer has. And the second thing is the protection of revenues, be that making sure that the back office cost, the manpower required is very small, or making sure that it's directly linked to billing events so that all of the additions and deletions can be charged according to the commercial rules that you've put into the UBOS portal. But I think one of the important things is to highlight the way that the product set now breaks down in our space. And this has been very clearly demonstrated in a couple of quite interesting webinars over the last few months. The marketplace now sits in sort of 3 zones. One is telephony, as we used to call it. So the soft phone element of the products that you're about to see relate to that telephony link to a degree. Meeting rooms, which were the piece that had made some headway prior to the COVID changes in March of last year, and really sort of accelerated into daily use for everybody. The type of thing that both Zoom and Microsoft also play in terms of being competitors of the Webex product. But then we've got Spaces, which is really this team collaboration space, this concept of people having a continuous workflow environment in which they can work. And for those of you who've not played heavily in this, this is one of the key areas of development and opportunity that we've got when we're working with our customers. And hopefully, if you've got experience with Microsoft Teams, you'll see how similar and how elegant the Webex product is. So it means that you're going to carry choice through to the marketplace of this triple play voice, meeting room, and collaboration spaces, with perhaps the advantage in the Webex space strongly in the area that the telephony piece is so rock solid on the BroadSoft underneath that. So, but we can talk long and hard about it. We should probably just have a little look at it. So we're going to look at it in two ways. I'm just going to bring onto screen here the UBOS portal. Now, if you've not been introduced to this by us, again, do please make this part of your reach out to us, and we'll take you into where VanillaIP invests in the back office and the delivery mechanic for our reseller channel, as well as the product suite. But we did just want to show a couple of things backing up Ed's proposition here. We've gone into an area called packages. I'll just reverse back out of it. We've gone into an area of packages here. So under a reseller, our resellers are all able to create their own packages and services. This means that you can decide on what the bundles are, and you can pull various products together in order to do that. We've created three simple Webex propositions down the bottom here, which will sit as secondary packages that you can add to users. And if I just drop into this premium pack here just for a moment, we'll see that it comes from the parent level under the title of Webex 1000. But across here, just to highlight what Ed was saying before, it is the Webex product, the application and service that we'll be deploying, but we've added to it Share Call Appearance 5 so that we can deploy all of the device options at the same time. So this then turns the product into a single deployment, a single click of a mouse deployment. And I'm just going to roll forward here into one of our demo zones where I'm showing a user within a business, within a reseller in UBOS. This particular user has got devices currently in place of just one device. But if I go to the packages and services here, and we'll talk about this longer when you're on with us, but the idea here is that everything that I show you is tariffed. So you can see a setup charge and a recurring charge. These are just notional ones. You would set your commercial rules. If I try to deploy the service, it will tell me what the contract rules are. So I've set this up as a 30-day service. And if that's the product that I want to deploy, I can simply go and do the live deployment now. This will then go off into the back end and create everything in real time. The idea is also that this will create a change to the pull down fields that go into the welcome letter that Ed was talking about. And when the service is deployed, so successfully deployed, I can go into the devices here, and you can see that within that one task, it has now deployed those two other devices. And as Ed has alluded to in his presentation, I haven't moved devices here, so I can make any of these the primary device in very quick time. So the deployment of a service is there. If your customer is worried about the freedoms of it, it's equally easy to take the service off. I could just disable it here. And it would then follow the contract rules. So if they had a 30-day notice period running, it would enforce that 30-day notice period and give them the choices of what to do with it. So there's an elegance to the deployment of the product. There's a control on the commercial of the product. This is designed to help you as resellers to facilitate a change market of on-demand expectation. And just to round out the live side of this, and again, invite you to come and talk to us more, and I'm conscious of time, so I'll do this very quickly. For those of you who are familiar with Microsoft Teams, you'll see quite a lot of commonality here as well. But on the left-hand side, you can see functionality relating to a soft phone. So I have the dialing capabilities, I have my contacts capabilities, and I can add contacts into there. And I have things like my missed calls or my visual voicemail that I can look at through this particular window. I'm going to show you how I can run my schedule and create my meetings and see my schedule in here. But because this is a dummy user, I haven't got it in there, but I'll show you a picture of that when I take you through this area of Teams and Spaces. So again, for those of you familiar with Microsoft, you know the Teams creation and you know the term channels. And it's really, if I dip into one of my teams here, you can see the equivalent to channels here. I'll go into my general space. You'll see that I've got the ability to include people within this particular group, and I can have them at any size. I put in some content here just so we can see that you can link in pictures, and you can link in document links, and you can have a little dry whiteboard thing going on there as well with a beautiful piece of art. That content, those files, are saved in a repository. So if the chat goes on deeply, you don't have to go searching for the key content points here. You can use this environment to schedule meetings, and that's the bit I was going to show you here. This is what the scheduling space looked like. So that would be my calendar. These are my options to run through that. And then finally, again, you'll be familiar with this if you're using Microsoft Teams, the ability to bring in other forms of content. In this particular case, I brought a URL for a website. So if I've got normal terms and conditions or offers that I need my staff to have quick access to, I've got all of those in play. So again, it's a fairly intuitive app that you need to run through. But on the back of that, just to back up what Tom was saying, there is this environment in which you can bring down an app store, if you like, that you can bring down any other collaboration apps that fit with the portfolio of services or the tasks that you are looking to do. And if you are needing help, I think this is really handy when you're talking about deploying to a big product like this to a wide group of people. The help pages on this particular product are really quite supportive, and I think from an operational point of view and account management point of view, your teams will find that extremely useful as well. So that really just gives us a little bit of insight into the product itself, the way the application works, the familiarity you might have with that against some of the other products in that space. And just to conclude today's presentation, and again, to really invite you to come and talk to us about our methodology and our processes, we are aiming to make sure that our reseller channel can maximize the revenue and profit opportunities that this new marketplace is giving us. Very strong plays that we've had based on our BroadSoft environment, but also with our key partners to deliver revenue and value to customers in this space. But in this team meeting and collaboration space, there is a less obvious route for traditional suppliers or resellers to retain and maintain their profit margins. And so this particular, one of the main drivers to make sure we got this Webex product in and into the portfolio the way we like to work with our partners is to make sure that your revenues are growing and that you're not just feeding the supply chain with your customer base. In terms of where we're going to, the Webex products will come out. Immediately available are the 3 meeting and collaboration tools, Webex Spaces, Webex 25, and Webex 1000. And on the 4th of February, it gets joined by the soft phone product that's coming through. All available with multiple devices, all available with an included share call appearance, so you can get straight on with it. There's a quick summary here, and the team will make the recording available to you so you can digest this a little bit more. Team Spaces is about mainly internal working. Don't be misled. You can actually have external players being guested into workspaces, but this is this new continuous workflow, this environment of shared documentation and shared chat and that sort of thing, all backed up with the soft phone and the core messaging capabilities. Webex 25 just brings in this common size, this good size meeting space and some more meeting control, including lobby. And then we go up to the big seat player. So again, company meetings, bigger project meetings, bigger launch information. You know, it's a great product, but again, brings in these things like the recording, the transcription, and for some people, quite importantly, the remote desktop. So the ability for people to remote on and share the presentation in that way. And again, all of them in the multiple apps and with the share call appearance behind them. So a bit of a dash through a couple of things, and I appreciate you waiting for the end of this webinar. The opportunity is very good for us. I think resellers armed well, trained well, and with supportive back office products can make a great deal out of the marketplace and retain high revenues and high margins commensurate with the sort of service level that you deliver to your customer. There's a natural ability to blend in these revenue streams. So again, you stack revenue and stack margin. So your long-term profitability and value should be strong. And at the back of it, we see this changing demand for real-time on-demand. So the deployment simplicity and the control that UBOS gives is very powerful. And who are the marketplace that we go across? Well, the PBX marketplace, which you may play in at the moment, you may need to move your customers away, or you may find it's just a fertile place to canvas. There's an awful lot we can do for customers in that space and bring them across. But you have a choice, and customers like choice. With VanillaIP, we have already established a strong relationship to support the Microsoft Teams side, but we're delighted with this Cisco side, because we think we can support the long-term revenues and values of our partners well. If customers have adopted and are built into Teams, that's fine. It's a little bit like trying to persuade somebody not to use an iPhone if they're an iPhone lover. But here's an opportunity for you to widen the portfolio, have alternatives, be an advisor to the customer, and really sit in that space of a trusted supply partner. There's a lot to be getting on with this year. We see government ministers telling us that we might release at February, we might release at Easter. Basically, it's time to start the race now. And I think with the tools that we've got and with the capabilities we can deliver to the customers through our reseller partnerships, I think we can really help get this country back on the go. So thanks very much indeed. Enjoy your afternoon. Take care.